So, as she was prescribing my HRT, my doctor actually said to me, so you can expect to gain a few kilos around the waistline as you're going through this. And I'm nodding, but in my head, I'm thinking, not going to happen, lady. So, listen on to discover why weight loss is harder in perimenopause and menopause, and why I'd be very surprised if I do gain weight as I navigate this fascinating time of life. So, welcome to Joyful Eating, episode 250. Yay! 250. That's a lot of episodes. So, today we're going to talk about why weight loss is harder in perimenopause and menopause, because when you understand the reason behind something, then it helps to be able to do something about it, right? Before we get to that, the best bite I had recently, actually, this was a while ago, but I was just reminded of it. So I went to Melbourne, had a few days in Melbourne, eating out for every meal, had some really great fun catching up with friends. And me and one of my best friends, Mel, we had a really lovely afternoon at the art gallery. And before that, had lunch at a restaurant called Super Normal in Melbourne, owned by a chef called Andrew McConnell. And it's been around for a while. I'm not sure if it's Japanese. It's kind of like Asian. It's kind of Japanese, but then it's kind of feels like it has Chinese influences as well. Anyway, so Super Normal, a classic Melbourne institute. So we had lunch there, and we had actually had this beef tartare, so raw beef chopped up, and it had this yuzu sauce. So yuzu is like this Japanese citrus that has this. Normally, I'm not a super huge yuzu fan. Like, it's quite floral and it's kind of limey, but it has its unique thing. Anyway, this beef dish was just incredible. Like, the meat was just perfectly melting in your mouth, and then it had the ouzo. It was like, it was the business. Me and Mel were like, this is so good. We did consider getting more. And actually, we also had a really lovely lamb dish there. Actually, everything we had at Super Normal was really good. So actually, anything you have at any of Andrew McConnell's restaurants are very good. So I love all McConnell's food. But anyway, enough about restaurants. Let's talk about why weight loss is harder in peri and menopause. So first, I'm going to share why it's harder, and then I've got some good news for you as well. And also, I'm going to share with you like why I have this seemingly arrogant confidence that it's not going to happen to me, right? Which time will tell. And then we'll finish off with, I've got a microscopic habit for you to start experimenting with to help you avoid that weight and become an arrogant person like me. So why is weight loss harder in perimenopause and menopause? And basically, there's many reasons to it, right? It's multifaceted, but it's all to do with the aging process. Just one of them, of course, is our muscle mass decreases as we age, and muscle actually requires more calories than fat. It's because it's an active tissue. So to maintain your body mass, if you've got more muscle, then your daily caloric requirement is higher. Whereas as your muscle starts to shrink, the actual amount of calories that you need every day is decreasing. So that's one not so fun factor. And then also, as we age, our insulin sensitivity decreases. So just the body's, how much insulin we need to store a certain amount of how much carbohydrate we're eating, or to get our blood sugar back down to normal after we've eaten carbohydrate, that process gets more rusty, right? And so we need more and more insulin to get the same blood glucose response. And of course, the more insulin we have in our systems, then that leads to us storing weight around the middle, like, and around it's called visceral fat, or like around our organs, which is the worst place where you really don't want to be storing fat. And there's people though who thin, but then if they have a high amount of visceral fat, then they're more likely to have cardiac disease and to die early, even though they're not overweight. So actually, if you are overweight and the weight is on your butt and thighs, that's healthier than being thin and having this visceral fat. But anyway, we won't go more into that. But yeah, so insulin sensitivity is decreasing. Our protein requirement is increasing. So there's biochemical pathways that required for our bodies to do different things. And so one of them is to build muscle. And I can't remember the exact numbers, but I did see some research around this, that when we're young, like when we're kids, we need, and I'm going to make the numbers up, but it was something along the lines of, we need 1 gram, so 1 unit of that type of protein, that amino acid, leucine, to start that process. So if you have some leucine, but you don't have that kind of minimum requirement, then the process doesn't start. Whereas when you're in your 50s, it was like you needed like, rather than 1 unit, you needed 35. And again, I'm pulling the numbers out of my butt, but it was a lot. You needed more than tenfold more to get to get that process started. So yeah, so our need for protein increases as we age. And so if you're just eating the same as you've always ate and you're not increasing your protein, that makes it hard and causes weight gain. Another reason, our gut motility slows down, so we're more likely to get constipated, fun, joys of aging. And of course, when the longer food is in your system, in your digestive system, the more nutrients your body can extract from every little ounce that you eat. And so this actually happens in pregnancy as well. It's really cool that our bodies naturally slow down the motility during pregnancy so that our bodies are able to absorb more nutrients. So we don't actually need to eat a lot of extra food in pregnancy to support the pregnancy. So we just be more efficient at getting out what we've got. So this is another reason why weight loss is so hard in perimenopause, because our gut's slowing down. So we're extracting more nutrients from everything that we put in our mouth. So you're eating the same thing, and then all of a sudden you're like, I haven't changed what I'm eating and I haven't changed my exercise level, but my weight's starting to be a problem. And so that's another contributing factor, right? So there's so much to this. There's also the decreased sex hormones, so estrogen, testosterone, what's the other one? Progesterone. Yeah, they interact with insulin and they also interact with cortisol. So you'll notice that your ability to respond to stress is changing. And so cortisol has an impact on how insulin works. And so that whole hormone soup is not interacting in the way that it previously had when you were younger. So that's another factor at play. And then also think about this time of life is generally we're at the top of our game in terms of career. So we've got demanding jobs. You may or may not have children mine are, because I have my children so old, mine are still in that tween age. I haven't got to having teenagers phase yet. And then also, you've got the aging parent thing, which I've had to deal with my dad. And thankfully, I've only got one parent. Not thankfully. I wish I had more parents around. But from a aging parent managing perspective, like only one to deal with. So there's a lot of life stuff that's going on at this time of life as well. You thought being a teenager was hard and going through puberty was hard. This is like next level. Of course, when you think about it from that perspective, of course our weight goes up, right? Without us seeming to actually do anything differently. And the good news is that we don't just have to let this happen. Like we don't just have to let this play out. Like we have the ability to respond to our body's changing needs. And so that's the good news, is like there's something that you can do about this. And so why I'm confident that my weight isn't going to go out of control over perimenopause and menopause is that I've really dialed in the ability to listen to my body and adapt to how much food my body needs as it's changing. And so I'm not looking to outside sources to tell me how much to eat. I'm just really being guided by my body. And my mom, who sadly died when she was 63, like she navigated, I wish she was around to ask her about it, right? But she navigated this time of life without gaining weight. And she was someone who, she actually taught me this idea of listening to, she didn't teach me literally, but just when I think about the way that she interacted with food, she was very naturally healthy. She would listen to her body. She would talk about having a full tummy and, I can't fit anything else in kind of thing. Although she did have a dessert stomach. So I don't know. She was good around the listening to her body piece. So I feel that because I've got that, or I've acquired that skill in the last 5 years, that now as my body's aging and changing, I'm able to adapt to the changes so that I'm getting the quantity piece right. I'm also getting the protein. I'm listening to my body. Like if my hair starts falling out, I know I'm not getting enough protein, so I can increase my protein as needed, and I can adjust based on how my body feels. And also I weigh myself every day. So if I have that visibility of the data, I'm not going to have any surprises. If I start to gain weight, I can see it, right? And then I'm able to respond and do something about it. So that's why I'm this arrogant person. And time will tell. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe I will end up putting on a heap of weight, but time will tell. My invitation to you this week is to just a microscopic habit to just start building that skill of listening to your body is whenever you're serving out food or you're in a restaurant, divide your plate in half. And so that might be that you chop your burger in half. Literally, it might be that you just draw a mental line halfway down the plate. And when you've eaten that first half, then just pause and check in with your body and go, hang on, how are we feeling? And just how does my tummy feeling? Am I feeling full? Do I feel satisfied? Do I need more? And just start getting into the habit of having that pause halfway through. And just that one thing of bringing some awareness and some conscious thought into your meal occasions, that's a really solid first step on changing and learning how to listen to your body. That's my invitation for you this week. And of course, if you'd like some more help with learning to listen to your body, I actually have a free class that you can check out. So check out the link in the show notes to give you more details around learning that skill of intuitive eating. Okay, have a fantastic week, and I'll catch you next week.